Testing. Thank you. Okay. Sorry about that, everyone. Um, I don't know what happened. I dropped out. dropped out. I don't know. They want to call copyright or something. His final speech to the UN. Three. And just have to do it this way. Right. Now we're watching JFK's speech to the okay final speech to the UN.
We must continue to seek.
Right. Okay. I'm going to start from the beginning because, well, I really shouldn't I? Why won't this pause? Because okay, that was a bit annoying. It's frustrating. Um, my server dropped out. I had to go and reset it. That was one thing. And I got it going. I tried to rejoin the original Hangout, and I was put into an infinite loop where I would say rejoin to take me there, and instead of taking me there, it'd take me back to your listing of live events that are coming up. Excuse me. And then I press OK. Go to Google Hangouts. I press that, and then it do the whole join, and then it'd go to take me there. I'm like, yep, and then it's going back to the list of live hangouts. So it threw me into an infinite loop. So I wasn't able to rejoin the original, which would have just kept going, which is the whole this sort of I've worked my way around it. I think I've worked my way around it. I think I've had a bit of a problem there, but I do think I've worked my way around it, um, and hopefully I'll be able to stream. And if they drop me out, I'll be able to keep it going. But I forgot to set it up in that way, so my bad, and I'm very sorry. But I really want everyone to hear this speech because some of the words and some of the things he says, they, they really resonate with today. Um, especially, especially the parts where he's talking about like climate change and things. Anyway, here we go, guys. Let's give this another go. See my sorry, my cursor is twitching. So it was. Mm.
Mr. President, as one who has taken some interest in the election of presidents, I want to congratulate you on your election to this high office. Mr. Secretary General, delegates to the United Nations, ladies and gentlemen, we meet again in the quest for peace. 24 months ago, when I last had the honor of addressing this body, the shadow of fear lay darkly across the world. Berlin, wars in immediate peril, agreement on a neutral Laos seemed remote. The mandate of the United Nations in the Congo was under fire. The financial outlook for this organization was in doubt. It was dead. The doctrine of Troika was being pressed in his place. An atmospheric nuclear test had been resumed by the Soviet Union. Those were anxious days for mankind, and some men wondered aloud whether this organization could survive. But the 16th and 17th General Assemblies achieved not only survival, but progress. Rising to its responsibility, the United Nations helped reduce the tensions and helped to hold back the darkness. Today, the clouds have lifted a little so that new rays of hope can break through. The pressures on West Berlin appear to be temporarily eased. Political unity in the Congo has been largely restored. A neutral coalition in Laos, while still a difficulty, is at least in being. The integrity of the United Nations Secretariat has been reaffirmed. A United Nations decade of development is underway. And for the first time in 17 years of effort, a specific step has been taken to limit the nuclear arms race. I refer, of course, to the treaty test in the atmosphere, outer space, and underwater, concluded by the Soviet Union, the United Kingdom, and the United States, and already signed by nearly 100 countries. It has been hailed by people the world over to be free from the fears of. And I am confident that on next Tuesday at 10:30 o'clock in the morning, it will receive the overwhelming endorsement of the Senate of the United States. The world has not escaped from this. The long shadows of conflict and crisis envelop us still. But we meet today in an atmosphere of rising hope and at a moment of comparative calm. My presence here today is not a sign of crisis, but of confidence. I am not here to report on a new threat to the peace or new signs of war. I have come to salute the United Nations and to show the support of the American people for your daily deliberation. For the value of this body's work is not dependent on the existence of emergencies, nor can the winning of peace consist only of dramatic victories. Peace is a daily, a weekly, a monthly process, gradually changing opinions, slowly eroding old barriers, quietly building new structures. And however undramatic the pursuit of peace reached a pause in the Cold War, but that is not a lost peace. A test ban treaty is a milestone, but it is not the millennium. We have not been released from our obligations. We have been given an opportunity. And if we fail to make the most of this moment and this momentum, if we convert our newfound hope standing into new walls and weapons of hostility, if this pause in the Cold War merely leads to its renewal and not its end, then the indictment of posterity likely point its finger at us all. But if we can stretch this pause into a period of cooperation. If both sides can now gain new confidence and experience in concrete collaborations for peace, if we can now be as bold and far-sighted in the control of deadly weapons as we have been in their creation, then surely this first small step can be the start of a long and fruitful journey. The task of building the peace lies with the leaders of every nation, large and small. For the great powers have no monopoly on conflict or ambition. The Cold War is not the only expression of tension in this world, and the nuclear race is not the only arms race. Even little wars are dangerous in a nuclear world. The long labor of peace is an undertaking for every nation, and in this effort, none of us can remain unaligned. To this goal, none can be uncommitted. The reduction of global tension must not be an excuse for the narrow pursuit of self-interest. If the Soviet Union and the United States, with all of their global interests and clashing commitments of ideology, and with nuclear weapons still aimed at each other today, can find common interest and agreement, then surely other nations can do the same. Nations caught in regional conflicts, in racial issues, or in the death throes of old colonialism. Chronic disputes which divert precious resources from the needs of the people, or drain the energies of both sides, the interests of no one. And the badge of responsibility in the modern world is a willingness to seek peaceful solutions. It is never too early to try, and it's never too late to talk. And it's high time that many disputes on the agenda were taken off the debating schedule and placed on the negotiating table. The fact remains that the United States, as a major nuclear power, does have a special responsibility to the world. It is, in fact, a threefold responsibility. A responsibility to our own citizens, a responsibility to the people of the whole world who are affected by our decisions, and to the next generation of humanity. We believe the Soviet Union also has these special responsibilities, and that those responsibilities require our two nations to concentrate less on our differences and more on the means of resolving them peacefully. For too long, both of us have increased our military budgets, our nuclear stockpiles, and our capacity to destroy all life on this hemisphere, human, animal, vegetable, without any corresponding increase in our security. Our conflicts, to be sure, are real. Our concepts of the world are different. No service is performed by failing to make clear our disagreements. The central difference is the belief of the American people in self-determination for all people. The people of Germany and Berlin must be free to reunite their capital and their country. We believe that the people of Cuba must be free to secure the fruits of the revolution that have been betrayed from within and exploited from without. In short, we believe that all the world, in Eastern Europe as well as West, in Southern Africa as well as Northern, in old nations as well as new, that people must be free to choose their own future, without discrimination or dictation, without coercion or subversion. These are the basic differences between the Soviet Union and the United States, and they cannot be concealed. So if they exist, they set limits to agreements, and they forbid the relaxation of our vigilance. Our defense around the world will be maintained for the protection of freedom, and our determination to guard that freedom will measure up to any threat or challenge. But I would say to the leaders of the Soviet Union and to their people that if either of our countries is to be fully secure, we need a much better weapon than the H-bomb, a weapon better than ballistic missiles or nuclear submarines, and that better weapon is peaceful cooperation. We have in recent agreed on a limited test ban on an emergency communications link between our on a statement of principle, on an increase in cultural exchange, on cooperation in outer space, on the peaceful exploration of, and on tempering last year's crisis. I believe, therefore, that the Soviet Union and the United States, together with their allies, achieve further agreements, agreements which spring from our mutual interest in avoiding mutual destruction. There can be no doubt about the agenda of further steps. We must continue to seek agreement on measures which prevent war by accident or miscalculation. We must continue to seek agreement on safeguards against surprise attack, including observation posts at key points. We must continue to seek agreement on the measures to curb the nuclear arms race by controlling the transfer of nuclear weapons, converting fissionable materials to peaceful purposes, and banning underground testing with adequate inspection and enforcement. We must continue to seek agreement on a freer flow of information and people from east to west and west to east. We must continue to seek agreement, encouraged by yesterday's affirmative response to the proposal by the Soviet foreign minister on an arrangement to keep weapons of mass destruction out of outer space. Let us get our negotiators back to the negotiating table to work out a practicable arrangement to this end. In these and other ways, let us move up the steep and difficult path towards comprehensive disarmament, securing mutual confidence through mutual verification, and building the institutions of peace as we dismantle the engines of war. We must not let failure be on all points, delay agreements where agreement is possible, and we must not put forward proposals for propaganda purposes. Finally, in a field where the United States and the Soviet Union have a special capacity in the field of space, there is room for new cooperation, for further joint efforts in the regulation and exploration of space. I include among these possibilities a joint expedition to the moon. Space offers no problem. By resolution of this assembly, the members of the United Nations have forsworn any claim to territorial rights in outer space or on celestial bodies, and declared that international law and the United Nations Charter will apply. Why, therefore, should man's first flight to the moon be a matter of national competition? Why should the United States and the Soviet Union, in preparing for such expeditions, become involved in immense duplications of research, construction, and expenditure? Surely we should explore whether the scientists and astronauts of our two countries, indeed of all the world, cannot work together in the conquest of space, sending someday in this decade to the moon, not the representatives of a single nation, but the representative of all of our countries. All these and other new steps towards peaceful cooperation may be possible. Most of them will require on our part full consultation with our allies, for their interests are as much involved as our own, and we will not make an agreement at their expense. Careful negotiation, and most of them will require a new approach to the Cold War, desire not to bury one adversary, but to compete in a host of peaceful arenas in ideas and production in service to all mankind. The contest will continue. The contest between those who see a monolithic world and those who believe in diversity. But it should be a contest in leadership and responsibility instead of destruction. A contest in achievement instead of intimidation. Speaking for the United States of America, I welcome this, for we believe that truth is from an error, and that freedom is more enduring than gold. And in the contest for a better life, all the world can be a winner. The effort to improve conditions of man, however, is not a task for the few. It is the task of all nations, acting alone, acting in groups, acting in the United Nations. The plague and pestilence and plunder and pollution, the hazards of nature, and the hunger of children are the foes of every nation. The earth, the sea, and the air are the concern of every nation. And science, technology, and education can be the ally of every nation. Never before has man had such capacity to control his own environment, to end thirst and hunger, to conquer poverty and disease, to banish illiteracy and massive human misery. We have the power to make this the best generation of mankind in the history of the world, or to make it the last. The United States, since the close of the war, has sent over $100 billion worth of assistance to nations seeking economic viability. And 2 years ago this week, we formed a Peace Corps to help interested nations meet the demand for trained manpower. Other industrialized nations whose economies were rebuilt not so long ago with some help from us are now in turn recognizing their responsibility to the less developed nations. The provision of development assistance by individual nations must go on, but the United Nations also must play a larger role in helping bring to all men the fruits of modern science and industry. A United Nations conference on this subject, held earlier this year at Geneva, opened new vistas for the developing countries. Next year, a United Nations conference on trade will consider the needs of these nations for new markets. And more than 4/5 of the entire United Nations system can be found today mobilizing the weapons of science and technology for the United Nations decade of development. But more can be done. A World Center for Health Communications under the World Health Organization could warn of epidemics and the adverse effects of certain drugs, as well as transmit the results of new experiments and new discoveries. Regional research centers could advance our common medical knowledge and train new scientists and doctors for new nations. A global system of satellites could provide communication and weather information for all corners of the earth. A program of conservation could protect the forest and wild game preserved now in danger of extinction for all time, improve the marine harvest of food from our oceans, and prevent the contamination of air and water by industry, as well as nuclear pollution. And finally, a worldwide program of farm product now give every child the food he needs. But man does not live by bread alone, and the members of this organization are committed by the Charter to promote and respect human rights. Those rights are not respected when a Buddhist is driven from his pagoda, when a synagogue is shut down, when a Protestant church cannot open a mission, when a cardinal is forced into hiding, or when a crowded church service is bombed. The United States of America is opposed to discrimination and persecution on grounds of race and religion anywhere in the world, including our own nation. We are working to right the wrongs of our own country through legislation and administrative action, through moral and legal commitment. This government has launched a determined effort to rid our nation of discrimination that has existed far too long in education, in housing, in transportation, in the civil service, in recreation, and in places of public accommodation. And therefore, in the other forum, we do not hesitate to condemn racial or religious injustice, whether committed or permitted by friend or foe. I know that some of you have experienced discrimination in this country, but I ask you to, when I tell you that this is not the wish of most Americans, that we share your regret and resentment, and that we intend to end such practices for all time to come, not for our visitors, but for our own citizens as well. I hope that not only our nation, but all other multiracial societies will meet these standards of fairness and justice. We are outside in all forms. We do not advocate the rights of Black Africans in order to drive out. Our concern is the right of all men to equal protection under the law. And since human rights, this body cannot stand aside when those rights are abused and neglected by any member state. New efforts are needed. If this Assembly's Declaration of Human Rights, now 15 years old, is to have full meaning, and new means should be found for promoting the free expression and trade of ideas through travel and communication, and through increased exchanges of people and books and broadcasts. Or as the world renounces the competition of weapons, competition ideas must flourish. And that competition must be as full and as fair as possible. The United States delegation will be prepared to suggest to the United Nations initiatives in the pursuit of all these goals. For this is an organization for peace. And peace cannot come without work and without progress. The peacekeeping record of the United Nations, though its tasks, we are fortunate to have the skills of our distinguished Secretary General and the brave efforts of those who have been serving the cause of peace in the Congo and the Middle East, in Korea and Kashmir, in West New Guinea and Malaysia. But what the United Nations has done in the past is less important than the tasks for the future. We cannot take its peacekeeping for granted. That machinery must be soundly financed, which it cannot be if some members are allowed to prevent it from meeting its obligations by failing to meet their own. The United Nations must be supported by all those who exercise their franchise here, and its operations must be backed to the end. Too often a project is undertaken in the excitement of a crisis and appeal as the problem drag and the through. It is, for example, most important not to jeopardize the extraordinary United Nations gains in the Congo. The nation which sought this organization's help only 3 years ago has now asked the United Nations presence to remain a little longer. The Assembly should do what is necessary to preserve the gains already made and to protect the new nation in its struggle for progress. Let us complete what we started. For no man who puts his hand to the plow and looks back, as the scriptures tell us, No man who puts his hand to the plow and looks back is fit for the kingdom of God. I also hope that the recent initiative of several members in preparing standby peace forces for United Nations call, similar commitments by others. This nation remains ready to provide logistic and other material support. Policing, moreover, is not enough without provision for Pacific settlement. We should increase the resort to special missions of fact-finding and conciliation, make greater use of the International Court of Justice, and accelerate the work of the International Law Commission. The United Nations cannot survive as a static organization. Its obligations are
And there we go. That's what I'm talking about. So now my computer, but I can still keep the show going by having this backup. Okay, so we're just going to need to wait a few minutes while it sorts itself out. Hopefully the server doesn't drop out, because that's the only thing that can really go wrong. But yeah, okay, that's going on. And down. Excuse me. Yeah. Set it up. You just get, because I noticed I muted my sound last time, and then it didn't unmute or something. I don't know. But so just to recap, the next video I'll be making, this video here, I'm just to get this point in about what he was speaking about not long before, a few years before he was assassinated. And at the end of that, at the end of this speech, we'll go a little bit into that, and I'll show you who did it, who assassinated him, right there on the screen. Also, come this week, you're just gonna have to have a look out for the time. It'll pop up and let you know that I'll be going live. I'm not doing a time thing for the same reason that this isn't about me. This is about God. About during the last talk, it was a talk before that actually, but anyway, I mean, the story of the history of Jesus, the true Jesus, where he can't create what Jesus stood for and what he was about, and the relationship between him and God. And some people even think that he is God, but anyway, we'll sort all that out then. Also, that we'll be going on about what our role will be, God, given that the rapture, as I said, is happening. It's been going on since last year. The sign of it was the Revelation 12 sign, as I said, but as I also said, it refers, you're supposed to see that refers to the end of Revelation 10. Excuse me. Which is the last verse of Revelation 10. It's Revelation 10, verse 11. And that happens to be the last verse. So, excuse me. Sorry about that. So, yeah, that last verse is going to be no, well, sorry, at him Daniel to speak concerning people's nations and which is who the witnesses are. If you didn't catch that, that part of the video or that in the video, that's the Twin Towers are the two witnesses. They witnessed the second woe, the beginning of the second woe, and they also are God's witnesses to the fact that these people have the power to control the weather. Turn concrete to dust and turn metal into basic molten lava and twisted lump metal like. Also, they are able to control weather. Those are the people in. And this is the way it will happen concerning them. This is referring to the people who are in control. Where the streets that the Twin Towers fall down onto. This is referring to them. So it's saying that if you don't understand, it's saying that the Twin Towers of New York, they lay there for 3.5 days, which is your 1,260 days and a half years and a half days that they will lay naked and bare or dressed in sackcloth. So yeah, my computer's back on, it's all good. So yeah, sorry. This isn't referring to Twin Tower, the bride of Christ. Okay, and it's talking about the bride of Christ being called up to God. Now, this is to happen
which has just happened, which is what is happening. And so their enemies will see them rising, okay, rising up to the sky, up in the sky with Jesus, which is the harpazo, which is the rapture, okay, which everyone is talking about, but they've all got it wrong. The rapture is the Christ, and there it's them because it says that there'll be a sign. This signify the beginning. Killed 7,000 people. This earthquake signifies the big. And the said 27 months. So people will see this. Yeah, well, they're seeing it because they can measure. They have a way of measuring the magnetosphere. A astronomical rate constantly, and it was doing it. As far as I know, it's doing it, but it's slowing down and it's getting ready to stop. But the problem is with this thing is it's for what's for them coming to the atmosphere and to make them aware. So they know if a rocket comes through, or if a rocket goes through, it goes out through it, or if it comes through it. But that's another subject for another time. But anyway, so weapons like rockets and whatnot, and also asteroids, meteoroids, and they measure it constantly, and if one comes through, because if that instruments do, and where it is roughly, and then that something's part. Well, since I think it was about this day, because I can't pinpoint it. James LaFleur from that Impossible channel, he does a video on it. He has the exact date that it started. Well, the date that it started was the date that people started to rise and the bride of Christ started to go to heaven. The reason I know basically it's the Bible, right? Jesus said,
sorry about that. Apparently I just left the call on my device, which I don't know why. Am I still on here? No. Okay. Okay, yeah, well, apparently. Okay, apparently, yeah, I'm just going to keep doing this. It's just going to keep dropping me and dropping me and dropping me. And so it's going to be a hassle. Just bear with it, work my way through it. Anyway, let me run you through what we're going to be talking about. In the next session, and I advise you be there, I'm going to be talking about Jesus. If I didn't, I was just speaking about this a minute ago. On the other device, it dropped out. I don't know if it got through, so I'm just going to go with it. Start it again. I'm going to tell the story of Jesus, not just the normal story of Jesus that everyone knows or thinks they know, but I'm going to tell the story of Jesus, the Jesus that people don't know, the true Jesus, who he is, where he comes from, where he fits in. Also, sorry, is that better? Is that better? Yes, that's better. Okay. Where he comes from, when he was created, yes, created, and yes, he is referenced to be being created in the Bible. I'll show you where the angels, including us and everything else, basically, has free will. The angels, yes, have free will. I'm pretty sure, just like us, they have a redemption choice that they can make. In other words, what I'm saying is they have a way back. They can redeem themselves as well. Just from what I've read and come up with in my head. Okay, moving on. Our role under God. So what our intention is, basically what we're intended for. The events that are going on and that are gonna go on and gonna happen. Now, if you didn't catch it, I stress in my last, I don't know which one it was. I thought it was the last one. It might be the one before. Apparently the last one hasn't got all the audio, so I can't say it was the last one. But what I can say is I'll tell you now what it is. So, because it could happen any time. There's going to be a huge earthquake, either in the sky. I know. I just said in the sky, or on Earth. Either the heavens are going to shake, or the Earth's going to shake, or both. But there's going to be a huge shaking. It's going to be a huge earthquake, guys, and that signifies the bride of Christ entering and fulfilling the covenant, because it says at the end of Revelation 11 that the Ark of the Covenant was seen in heaven. And it talks about an earthquake and hail and thunder and voices and a great hail, and lightnings and thunder and an earthquake. And I'm waiting for that earthquake. I believe it's coming, and I believe it's going to be quite big, and I believe it's going to affect a lot of people. And it's going to be a catalyst for the end of Harpazo. And also, there's another thing I'm waiting for, which is the woe, the third woe, which comes sooner than the distance between the first two. The first two, we had World War I and II. Then we had what started in the Middle East, and now we're going to have the third woe, and the third woe is supposed to be the worst of them all. If you want to guess at what it could be, a good guess would be World War, of course. Considering this is one of their Fatimas and one of the plans of theirs and all this sort of stuff, there's a good chance of it. There's another chance that it could be. Oh, excuse me. It could be plague, great plague, huge plague. It could be total shutdown of the whole system. I believe it's going to be 5G coordinated, part of that. I believe it's going to be the beginning of the beast system, where you start getting pushed towards being forced to be slaves. It'll all be due to, oh no, we don't know who the good guys and the bad guys are. Let's chip everyone, and then we'll be able to say who's good and who's bad. You know what this is all for, don't you? You know what the big play is, don't you? Oh, I might as well tell you this. Look, they've got a plan, everyone. Everyone you see that is a politician that is on TV, pushes buttons, tells you that they're going to do things, and the whole judicial system, the executive, legislative, the whole lot. They're a bunch of actors. They're not anything else but that. Once you get someone like Ronald Reagan in there, it's got to come to mind, logically. It's got to come to mind. They've got to go, oh, hang on. If we just put actors in, then we can make them do whatever we want. They can do a convincing job to convince the people. So why not just fill them with actors? Put an actor as the president. Put an actor as all the attorney generals. And then just pretend. Just play government. And then you have people behind the scene who actually are government. And you have the people who play government basically just tell the people what you're going to be enduring. Anyway. They're going to there was a launch. I think it was at the end of the year, last year, or the beginning of the year, this year. And it was Russia. They launched a sail, a big reflective silver triangular sail. Apparently there's this hexagon thing that's gone up as well. Oh, dodecahedron. That's gone up as well. I don't know. I don't know what they're going to do with them. I've got my thoughts, but, not many people, I haven't heard anyone really talking about it. But yeah, Russia launched one. and they're gonna make it. It's gonna be like the brightest star in the sky or something. I don't know. I can't remember the story. I could probably pull it up, but I don't want to do too much to my computer because things don't go too well. So I'll just leave them and say, okay. Yeah. And the plan, I think, people, is with all these actors and whatnot, I believe what the plan is. They want to destabilize everything. They want to take everything away. They want to take literally everything away. They want to stop you wanting to go to the theater. They want to stop you wanting to go to football games. They want to stop you wanting to go to concerts and stuff. They want to scare people into not going out. So they want to take system services away and stuff like that as well. I believe that they also want to control everybody. I think that those things that they've got, I can't remember where they are, but they're at the beginning of a tunnel, some sort of tunnel. It's for cars, obviously, but these towers that have been put in by Homeland Security and stuff, and they won't tell anyone what they're about. I think that they could be stopping mechanisms that use microwave frequencies that stop cars so they can't get out, or they could be some sort of I don't know, because they can do some crazy stuff now, where they can I don't know mind control people into walking into there and I don't know turning on some gas tubes and lighting a match. Who knows? Could get pretty hectic. But whatever they're for, they're not for anything good because they won't tell you about it, even they pay for it. Sorry, I'm getting really bad heartburn at the moment. I'll get it often. It's all right. Okay, moving on. I've got to get this out. Where we are. So, where we are in the stream of things as far as the Bible goes, you basically know where that is. We're at the end of Hapazo, and we're waiting for an earthquake. What's about to happen? Well, we're waiting for an earthquake. What to look out for? Wolves in sheep's clothing. I'll say it again. Wolves in sheep's clothing. Don't believe anyone out there teaching you religion. Except maybe me and maybe a couple of others. I don't know any others. But not many people actually study the Bible. It's a sad thing. And I can prove it. That's what the worst thing is. Sad having to show people that, well, not really show them, just expose them. It's sad having to do that to them because I don't want to have to do that. But at the same time, I don't want people to be lied to. It's not a good thing, especially when it comes to God and their salvation, you know. Anyway. Oh, yeah. What they've kept us in the dark for. What the whole reason for keeping us in the dark is a reason. What the whole reason for it is. Why they've kept this from us. Like, what was it? What would be a reason for telling us that Jesus died on a cross? What benefits do they get out of it? You know, why change it? What's the reason for taking God's name out of the Bible over 7,000 times in the original forms? What's the reason for it? I know the reason they tell us for it. They say because it hasn't got any vowels, we're not supposed to be able to spell it. Well, then let's take all the vowels, all the vowelless words out of the ancient Hebrew text and end up with hardly a book at all. Because that's the way they wrote. Doesn't mean that you weren't supposed to speak it. If you weren't supposed to speak it, wouldn't be in there now, would it? Come on. Just ridiculous. Not an excuse at all. Oh, anyway, moving on. Here's a interesting one. The Quran does not fit the Bible. There's powerful evidence that the Quran, for one, is an old book, 1400 years, something like that. That is claimed to be a holy book, claimed to have references to Jesus and many other of the prophets and the ancestors, but points that the Bible has totally destroy it as being a continuance, let alone part of it. Okay, so I'll be having a bit of a talk about that. I'm also going to show you that the Bible is not a book of Chinese whispers. You know how you hear or you might not have, but anyway, people say and have said for a long time. Well, a lot of people think that the origin of the Bible is the Dead Sea Scrolls, which isn't true. The Dead Sea Scrolls were found. They were hidden for a reason. They know why they were hidden. The reason they'll give you for them being hidden was because of stuff to do with what's it called? When they went through and tried to normalize, modernize, modernize everybody or whatever. Crusades and stuff like holy crusades or whatever it was. I don't know. But anyway, they'll tell you that they hid them to, preserve and all this sort of stuff. It was for preservation, of course. Yes, it was, but it wasn't from what they've told us. It was from the sort of super version of that, where they were literally like getting them to carve into their, using shovels or whatever tools they had, dig up all their ornaments and gold and statues and all the goodies, and they were pillaged, and then basically made a bunch of slaves. Some of them were shackled and sold off as slaves to other countries, such as America and England. Yeah, so that's not a very good history. But there's a lot more to our history than what we've been told. Much more. Okay. Now, I'm going to wrap this up because at least I've got to say what I needed to say. This is just to let you know, keep your eyes open. Live show will be coming up. It will come up after the earthquake, people. That's what we're waiting for. A huge one. Shouldn't be too long. My timeline puts it pretty soon, considering. Oops. Yep. Considering where we are. And the holy days that we've just been through. We've got a new moon coming up. So yeah, it's sorry. It's gonna happen, and that's the broadcast. as soon as I become aware of it, I should say. Be hard if I'm, it'll pop up for me because I'm constantly watching out. Sorry, I'll just wait for the airplane. Okay, so yeah, that's all I'm waiting for, people. And then, as soon as the earthquake breaks, then you're going to be told the story, the real story of who Jesus is, where he came from, when he was created, where in the Bible he was created, the places that back it up. And that's the most important talk. Okay, Jesus, because a lot of people don't know Jesus. God says to honor him, and it says that he will be honored in the end of days. We are in the end of days. We're in the birth pains at the moment. We're basically in the end of days. End of days will start once this earthquake comes, I believe. They will be crying peace and safety, but the reason you hear it every now and then is because they're a bunch of they know what they're doing. Okay. If you say peace and safety, and you know that there's religious people, or people believe in religion, and they know of peace and safety. I say religion, not the Bible. Most people know that's going to be said, and then sudden death will come upon them. No, it's when it's for when they are saying peace and safety. Okay. It's going to basically be after the good times, which is coming, which everyone's going to be like, what? What do you mean good times? Isn't this tribulation coming? No. They're going to make themselves be angels. They're going to clean everything up. If you know me, then you'll know I had an original channel, sorry. In that original channel, I had what's it called? A list. The list. You know, a list of videos of the internet, put them up in this list. And I've named the list. And I named the list basically first to the FBI, then the CIA, and then the government, some sort of thing like that. And what I'm getting at is they're going to bring these institutions down. They're going to go in orders, and it's going to be about exposing. And we're going to have this good time. See, we're going to have this period of good time. This period of good time is going to come about because of this exposure that's happening now too. But that's going to be the thing. They're going to expose what's happening in the world. Okay. To the point where you're going to hear of and see some pretty nasty stuff. I think it's going to be stuff that has been happening. And they're doing it now, like outing all like Weinsteins and all this sort of stuff. It's all happening now. They're in the middle of it. Oh well, they've kickstarted it anyway. They're going to clean up, basically. Reset debts and all this sort of stuff, and they're going to ease up on people and be looking like it's going to be getting better. And it's going to be a big kumbaya moment and everything. But it's a big suck up. It's a big lie. They're going to bring it all down and shove it in your face and expose it for what it really is. They're going to show the real grit of these institutions that have been running the world for a long time. But if you've been paying attention, how do I know that? Because they start selling things off ready to have, or they're stockpiling basically. You'll see if you take notice, a lot of government and stuff, money goes missing. People have shady deals, but it's not so much a worried about it. Got to change our ways or put new people in. It's almost like it's a free for all, and people that get caught don't really care. They just, you see them with their hands in more cookie jars, and the reason being is because of. I'll talk about it. I'll make sure I put it on the list. It's a thing called Horizon 2020. Okay, there's a boat. It's not really a boat, as you would think a boat is. It's a bunch of rings. Okay, if you think of just flat rings, and they have them stacked on top of each other, separated by pylons. The rings get thinner and thinner as they get to the lower ones, and they bob around. It bobs around in the water. Okay, it has a couple of helipads on it. It's fully decked out, tennis courts, all that. I don't want to be the ball boy. You don't want to go swimming to get the ball. But anyway, it's fully decked out. It's got everything you can imagine. And it's for living in the middle of the ocean. And they've got these engines that are called azimuthal engines. There's no information on them. No one, you can't Google them, apparently. I've had a look, but yeah, you can't find them, apparently. They're azimuthal or equidistant or whatever. They don't, there's no description of them. There's no description of what they do. And apparently you can't find any information about them. But it's obvious what they do. It's obvious what their job is. And I believe they're just, they're just azimuthal. They keep it equidistant. they keep it flat. So all they'd have to be doing is, if you have, three, I'm pretty sure it has three pylons. I've got a picture of it. I'll show you when I do the book. Just a sec. Okay. Yeah, they have the engines. They'd be set up so they'd pump and blow sort of thing, and they'd be situated so they suck in an upward direction and down direction. So they're like straws, sort of. That's the way I sort of see it in my head. And what they would do is they'd keep the boat so the buoyancy and its level would stay flat, even in certain rough seas. Now, the big point about this boat, it cost $1 billion to get on it. And it's a lifetime thing. So they've got plans, people. They've got plans to do things here that the elites are planning on being out in the middle of the ocean for. They're not gonna be, they're not gonna be in Antarctica or whatever. Too cold. They'll be in some tropical area where it's safe and calm. But I have, I suppose it's the elites, so they can use their machines to stop any tsunamis that come anywhere near, because the earthquakes. And I'll just say this one thing. if you read Revelations and you read the tribulation, it tells you the things that are going to happen. These things, and like it might be God tells the angel pour out his bowl, and that plague, and this plague, and that plague. These aren't none of this is caused by God. God doesn't cause anything of this. So these people, these crazy people, like the Bible says, the unstable will rule over you. Okay, we are ruled by the unstable people in our society. Right. Having said that, these people, mate, they're going to use. They're going to use all their instruments, their CERN and all the crap got floating around above us, and all these different instruments and technologies that they've got. They're going to shut down the sun. They're going to shut off the sun. I don't mean like turn it off. I don't know like if they're going to use the technology for that, but they're going to cause these earthquakes because they started it already. I don't know if they're using CERN or not, but they've started the earthquakes ramping up, and they're going to get worse and worse and worse. But they don't know what they're doing, and with the sun being at solar minimum, or entering, because it's in it, but it's not at the center of it. It's not in the middle of it. It's it's going through its cycle, which for 11 years actually, a solar cycle. And considering we only have until the year 2036 before God steps in. Oh, sorry, I wasn't supposed to tell you that. I'm supposed to do that till next time. Oh, little tidbit for you. Something to expect. Yes, I pretty sure I've nailed down the date that the year that all this happens. God says we won't know the day or the hour, but he didn't say we won't know the year. And I'm pretty sure I've worked it out. Anyway, praise Jehovah. God bless you all. I don't expect many to see this, but regardless, I know that is only meaning, one, they will not promote my stuff. Two, this will probably be muted. Wouldn't be surprised. Three, people are interested. And four, Jehovah said not many will find. Okay. So there's not going to be many of us that'll find the truth. But God will lead you here. If you're letting him lead you, you'll definitely end up here. So if you do, and when you do, really, welcome. I love you guys. Stay safe. And that means keep Jehovah's armor on you. Keep praying to him. Keep talking to him. Talk through his son. His son is his conduit. He is our way back to the Father. And he's also the one we need to speak through to get to him. He's the one who stepped in between Satan's influence that was compelled upon us. And Jesus stepped in to offer a sacrifice for that, so that man didn't have to struggle having to do so many different chores or different rituals and things, and standing with Jehovah. He made the final and perfect sacrifice to die for your sins, which he did, and which he did ahead of time. You can sin tomorrow. Jesus died for that sin already. Okay? You can be forgiven for anything. He died for all sins, for all mankind, for all time. So that means that Like, he knows we're imperfect. God knows we're imperfect because we're tainted. Look, I won't get into this now. I should be saving all this. Talk. Okay, guys. Waiting for the earthquake. Hope it comes soon. Praise Jehovah. Love you guys. Bye.